When you play an open world gacha game, multiplayer is the last thing that you normally think about. Sure, the concept exists, but it is much less exploited for any reasonable benefit. The main multiplayer aspect of these games is to go into other people's world, pretend you care about their day and how they're feeling, and then take their materials like the cold, savage item bandit that you are. Okay, maybe you do care about that person's day, but there's no denying the fact that stealing from your friends is a joy that can't quite be explained. Like, aren't you happy that you've gotten all of these items for free by material theft? If we look at the broader aspects of things across all gacha games on the market, even the whole multiplayer concept of other gacha games revolve around the core of using your friends' units or just sending your friends some special points for some minor rewards. There exists major untapped potential in many gacha games, but Wuthering Waves has touched slightly into that field. And let me tell you, it feels great to brutally beat down a monster with your friends. While this is just the beginning of Wuthering Waves' dive into the multiplayer aspects of gaming, this field has been left underutilized by the likes of the gacha king, Genshin Impact. My name is Void Enigma, and I'll be talking about how the multiplayer aspect in gacha games should be a priority in the future, as they are a way to make endless replayable content in the game, and it's a way for you to play and interact with your friends for a fun gaming experience. Now, the thing about open world games is that it takes a lot to bring these games to life. There exist games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption created by Rockstar that have amazing multiplayer experiences that are completely separate from the main campaign. While this may be too much to ask for a game like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, having a decent netcode to ensure smooth gameplay between players is kind of vital. I'm sure you remember what it's like to play Genshin Impact with your friends, and if you ever have, it's certainly a janky experience to say the least. You'll see a wanderer flying in the complete opposite direction, or when you see a C6 Zhao doing his lamenting, but you miss all of the action to see a glimpse of a Yaksha killing everything around you and you really don't see what's going on. Or, when you teleport, you actually end up inside of Arknights. And to be honest, I'm 100% okay with being inside of all. Genshin isn't really made to be played with other people, and I'm sure that each player relays their network information such as damage and character swaps for more accurate bossing and gameplay experience, so the bosses and enemies will die at the same time, but keeping track of the player is a much less accurate thing, at least with my experience. The same cannot be said for Wuthering Waves, as their overall netcode is much more accurate overall, at least with my co-op battles. In the recent co-opable battle event, this is a great thing. Multiple players can parry the boss, and bringing in 3 DPS is actually the optimal strategy to clearing the content. The gameplay feels smooth, and the boss will truly hunt down a specific player while also intimidating the other players around. Imagine a scenario when a boss is using their one-hit KO attack and it's up to your team to dodge that attack to survive. Are you going to be the one who gets one-shot and laughed at? Or are you going to be the hero of the team to dodge that, okay, I got one shot. Anyway, those are the fun scenarios that you can have in these co-op events, and I guess it's fun to flaunt your exceptional gaming prowess to your friends, if you have it. Similar to games like Monster Hunter, where you have 4 hunters fight against a giant monster and vanquish it within 5 to 20 minutes, Wuthering Waves touches into this aspect with this co-op event, and adding a permanent rotating mode like this would be excellent. Genshin did this concept, multiple times in fact, but these events have always felt rather inconsistent. You bringing a friend to help was more of a detriment than a benefit. The bosses gain so much extra HP that not soloing it is going to hold you back significantly, especially if your co-op partner is much less built than you are yourself. These events, like the Vagabond event or the Hypostasis event, are more fun to do with others, but they still lack that oomph to make it a great experience. This is mainly because of Genshin Impact's strict elemental system. To get the most out of your damage, you need to do proper rotations, set up your main carry, and have 3 buffers buff 1 character to get the most damage. You lose more damage using 2 DPS rather than just buffing 1. This is where Wuthering Waves nails the co-op experience, because not only is bringing multiple players actually better for a higher score and a faster clear, makes gaining that clear much easier to achieve. The last stages of the event are insanely difficult, and if you solo them, they are on par with the holograms. However, if you play in a team, then as long as everyone doesn't die within 9 seconds of each other, you can continue to fight and beat these bosses. This is the Monster Hunter experience that I have wanted, because the difficulty spike between the co-op and not co-op in Genshin is just, hey, I exist and I have more HP. At least I know that bringing a friend makes it an overall easier time with this current event in Wuthering Waves co-op. Both players now serve as a decorative piece of meat for the boss to defeat. You can gain benefits from long-range characters while your friend fights the boss up close, and the boss tends to change his targets often, but if you're using a fast character who can actually zoom around the field, then you can avoid a ton of damage this way and keep buffing up your main carry or your friend. Always great to see things be easy when you need them to be. Just like how hitting that subscribe button is easy and needs to be done. So yeah, do it. Still, you can't argue that whether it's Genshin or Wuwa, the co-op events with your friends are much more enjoyable. I took on this event with my wife and it was much more fun than me mindlessly going through the stages myself. Now don't get me wrong, it's fun regardless, but it's way more entertaining when you have someone to do it with. So far, Wuwa has done this 2 patches in a row with similar events. This was more oriented to battle instead of beating waves of monsters, but I am happy that they released at least 1 co-op event per patch, since the last patch anyway. Now I have to give credit where credit is due, and Genshin is very much capable of creating a fun co-op experience, but they tend to forget the core of the game, the combat. They do have fun co-op combat events, but those are featured maybe once or twice a year if we're lucky, which is much less than I'd actually hope for. But where they do shine, or maybe not shine depending on your perspective and how you feel about minigames, is their minigames. Albeit, a lot of their minigames are boring after a few tries, but I will say that without a doubt, Wind Trace is the best minigame Genshin Impact has ever made. I would love it if they had Wind Trace back more than just once a year, or if you have a mode that actually alternates so you can actually play Wind Trace every now and then, and you know, just a rotating thing like the Spiral Abyss, because it's quite fun to play. Sure, it can get boring if you were to play it too often, but having the option in your back pocket would be a fun thing. They tend to have other co-opable domains and challenges that spring up from time to time, but they always felt like more of a chore than an actual challenge or a way to compete with your friends. But that plays more into the fact that Genshin Impact is a much more casual game, when you don't really have to worry about challenges, whereas Wuwa offers a significantly difficult experience overall that will satisfy the player's need for a challenge. Now, another concept of the quote-unquote multiplayer gacha game is the leaderboards. This is a great way to compete with your friends, but that leaderboard has to include your friends list because honestly, only whales would be at the top otherwise, but I guess it could still be fun to see where you land in the rankings. This doesn't exist at all in Genshin or Wuthering, but Wuthering does have the ability to do so because they have a system to actually check the clear time for the holograms and to check the team meta for the current Tower of Adversity, so the data exists. Another concept that can be employed as a PvP mode is rather than just a ranking system, there exists an actual PvP aspect. Many gacha games on the market have a PvP system where you fight a simulated version of your opponent's teams with their preset units that you set up beforehand. However, what if you could compete with your friends in real time in Wuthering Waves? Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, I'm not talking about true player versus player, we could save that for a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but I'm talking about 2 players going up against the same boss and doing a boss rush to see who wins. This is reminiscent of the Samsung event between Genshin Impact YouTubers, where they actually have a gauntlet to see who wins with a variety of different games, and you have teams competing together. It would be a very fun thing to do, and sure, this can be created and organized, but it would be much more beneficial to just have this as a game mode so you don't have to really just worry about having this event once in a blue moon. Nonetheless, this is wishful thinking, and we will have to see what the future of Wuthering Waves brings for the co-opable events. The co-op in Wuthering Waves is still lacking some key quality of life features, such as seeing where your friend is on the map. In time, this will be fixed because we know that the devs listen, but I love to see a few fun and unique minigames that can actually have fun with your friends with. Just as Genshin Impact has the infamous Wind Trace, what can Wuwa bring to the table to match that? They have parkour aspects already implemented in the game, so there has to be some way for that implementation to be a suitable game mode. right? I'd love to see what's in store for the future of Wuthering Waves and the co-op field of things, because what they've done with this co-op event is just the start. It can honestly only get better from here. Go ahead and comment down below if you even did the co-op event with the recent battle event, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on conclusions about all of this together and what's in store in the future. This has been Void Enigma, and don't forget to subscribe because that's the best way to support the channel. As always, Enigma out.